right.
Hello, everybody.
There we go. Oh my gosh. I feel like it's been a while since I was properly on the show too, because we've been super busy. Been super busy. Hi guys. Thank you so much for joining. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch right now. And I totally forgot about daylight saving, so I'm glad that everyone made it.
Because I made posts about it. It's fine.
Okay, good. Because we never change, and then this is where we're based in Arizona, so Chibis are like Pacific Coast representative to be like, guys, don't forget. And I believe daylight savings is never happening again, right?
I hope. We're praying.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I heard,
which sucks because now I'm in a different time zone forever. But but it's also okay because I'm a morning person, so doing this at 11 versus noon is actually better for me. So.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Cos Talk Live. I'm going to do my quick intro. This is kind of always what we do, Jordan, and then I will mute while you kind of go over your stuff so I can go and share and make comments. So, guys, my name is Jinx Cosplay. I've been cosplaying since 2001, so over 20 years. I've cosplayed in Dubai, in London, I've gone to PAX. I haven't gone to the East Coast yet, so we're trying to get there. Maybe 2023. And I do a lot of video game cosplay, and yeah, that's me. So I'm gonna move it on to our next host. Hi, Cool Gamer. Thank you so much for watching us from YouTube every week. Chibi Raincloud.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chibi Raincloud, and as we just discussed, I'm a Pacific Northwest cosplayer, which means I'm in a different time zone. but happy to be here. I'm very excited. I haven't been on the show in a long time because I had a couple of cons and then I was with you guys, and then last week we didn't have anything, so it's nice to be back. But I've done a little bit of everything. I specifically love skits, and I've gotten really into cosplay competitions, paneling and stuff like that. And I'm cosplaying Johan from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX because gotta rep my favorite stuff, and I got to meet Dan Green last weekend, and so I've been on a Yu-Gi-Oh! Kick again. So here we are.
And then, of course, we have our special guest here, the co-director of the Cosplay Universe movie, Jordan Rennert. So, Jordan, please give an introduction of yourself, a little bit of background, and then, kind of where Cosplay Universe started from maybe the very beginning.
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Jordan. I'm a filmmaker based in Los Angeles. I'm originally from New York. So I still got some of that New York energy, but people are saying after 7 years out here, I'm slowly losing it. Let's see, Cosplay Universe began, many years ago, actually. The film really started, we were working on it since 2014, 2015, which is kind of cool because in a lot of ways, the film ends up being this really cool time capsule for cosplay before the pandemic came. And, a lot of things shifted with that, just like in all systems and communities and structures. How did it begin, though, is a really good question. Well, let's see. There's two main factors that I would say really kind of gave birth to this film. One is I am a documentary filmmaker, but I've made, along with my partner, Patrick Meany, we've made 6 or 7 other documentaries all about the worlds of cosplay, about the world of fandom, like comic book fandom, and we've made a bunch of films about really awesome science fiction and comic book writers. We got our first start back in 2010. We made a documentary about the comic book writer Grant Morrison, and then over time we've made a documentary about Neil Gaiman called Neil Gaiman Dream Dangerously. We made a documentary about Image Comics, which is the comic book company that gave the world Spawn and then ultimately The Walking Dead. We made a documentary about Chris Claremont. He was one of the main auteurs of the X-Men back in the 70s. That was a really cool film because a lot of it you kind of realized it was Chris Claremont and his collaboration with his 2 female editors that gave voice to a lot of the characters that we know and love, which I feel like is a story that many people don't know about. And we then made a film after that, a film called She Makes Comics, all about the history of women in the comic book industry in partnership.
I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's really cool. in partnership with our friend Marissa Stoddard. She directed, and myself and my friend Patrick edited. So I give that context because it's really the last two movies that gave birth to Cosplay Universe. Because when we were finishing the X-Men film, Chris Claremont's X-Men, we ran into the classic, not problem, but the issue of how do you tell the story in a really fun way, and the way that we were left with like a bunch of talking head interviews, and we were filming all these different panels from the comic books, but we figured one really cool way to give life to the film was to reach out to X-Men cosplayers. It was around 2013, 14 then, and Patrick and I had just moved to Los Angeles, and we were just surrounded, after going to Comic-Con for a couple years to promote our other comic book projects, or comic book films, we just realized that why not reach out to some really awesome cosplayers and like help give life to some of these characters, and just to kind of like break up the film, do something cool. And when we did that, we reached out to Lauren from, she goes by Lauren St. Laurent now. At the time, she was in a cosplay group called Birds of Play, and also doing her thing, creating these amazing corsets under Castle Corsetry. So we reached out to Lauren, and her and her whole friend group were like, hell yeah, we'll do this. Like, nobody was asking for money. It was just, this is cool. Let's let our X-Men cosplays that we put so much love and work into help illustrate Chris Claremont's story and how, X-Men kind of came out. So we just set up a classic, I guess we didn't realize at the time, but it was a classic cosplay shoot in a warehouse. We got like a space and just got some lights and just had some really fun filming with her friend, Amanda Lynn Schaefer, Alicia Marie Body, all these people that we had never known of, like epic cosplayers, but for us, they were just like people who were coming, and we just got wowed by their costumes. And I personally was just like, wow, these are some really talented artists, And I think that was one of the first inklings where I was like, whoa, this is just a cool art form. And me, I'm at the time on those projects, I was the producer and cinematographer. And it's just really fun to be a cinematographer and film cosplay, as there are so many cosplay videographers, and everybody can tell you, like, as a filmmaker, it's just fun to collaborate, to try to like get out of the people, whoever's cosplaying, you in a weird way get to start to interact with the characters as well. It's just a really fun project.
Well, I think it's wild because back in 2014, 15, filmography and videography for cosplay was basically unheard of. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't until recently that it became really, really popular doing that kind of thing. And so it's really interesting to see those videos from back then, because I'm like, oh, that's nostalgic con to me. Like, watching it, I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, this is just like a nostalgic con feeling, because I see a lot of the same things that I miss that is very different from cons today, because I did 5 or 6 cons this year pre-pandemic, which every single one of them has been very vastly differently shaped from what I'm used to. But watching your 2015 like videos, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I was trying to like pay attention to like, when was this filmed? Who was the winner of that year? But a couple of
I had to look up what year that was, because I'm like, I know I've seen this I know I've watched this year, but what year was it? So I looked up the winners of the Cosplay Summit to figure out what date that was for your video.
Dang, hardcore. So a couple comments. Julia says, Jinx Cosplay, go live, a Beyond Plus Ultra. I'm just dressed as a random MHA character today because wigs are annoying sometimes. Steve Jordan says, hello from Facebook. Cosplaying is an awesome thing to do and be who or what you want, which I think is really great what you guys highlight in the movie. Queen Zombies watching us from Twitch. Hello, Beans. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. So Jordan, I was so floored when Stan Lee comes up on the screen, you're like, wow, Stan Lee. So was he part of the X-Men movie that you were putting together, the video that you were putting together?
Oh yeah, that's another great question. And I apologize, I've gone really long-winded. I didn't even get to the real connection of where things came from. But yes, Stanley, well, my co-director, Jonathan McHugh, he at the time, I guess I can kind of tie it all in together, but the Stan Lee connection came because he was working on another project called We Are X, which is a documentary film all about the story of X Japan, this band that's like really popular in Japan. And you see in our film, we interviewed Yoshiki, because Yoshiki, who you have to kind of check out the film to get a context, but Yoshiki is this Japanese rock star who is just like really into manga and comics, and he worked with Stan Lee. So we were able to tack on to the interview with Stan Lee for the Yoshiki documentary. We were able to ask a couple of questions for Cosplay Universe, which was awesome, because it is really cool to like kind of get Stan Lee's kind of like definitive take on, and it's just hilarious what he says. He's just kind of like, these people in their costumes. He's still kind of like not, you can see the generational divide, but the excitement as well.
Yeah, that and I mean, for him, it must be so long coming that, you know, he's been doing this for decades, and then to see that people are still so into it that now we're dressing up as it, you know.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting to see him in the film. Sakura Elric says, I want to see the movie so bad. And don't worry, because we're going to share a clip. Probably I'll share it just now, and then we'll share where you can watch it online in the chat too. Yoshiki, oh my God, that's so amazing. What documentary is Yoshiki in?
Yeah, it's called We Are X. And it's...
We Are X.
Yep.
Okay.
We Are X.
I'm going to put that in the chat. Is it like that? We Are X.
Oh, nice. Yep, that's it. Exactly it. I think it's up there.
Yeah, and you can throw a link in there if you want, Jordan, like where to show, because that goes to all three of our platforms. You can share a link in there if you want to wherever to find it. But I'm going to go ahead and share the trailer now, if that's cool.
Cool.
I said now, and I'm not even ready yet. But I will have it in just a second, guys. Can you talk about where you can find this to watch, Jordan, while I get this loaded up?
Yeah. The film's available on Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, Vudu. There's one other one. What's the other one? Oh, on Xbox as well. So in a lot of places where streaming is available, and it's available for rent right now. So you can either rent it or purchase it. And yeah, oh, cool. Yeah, let's check out the trailer.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to mute myself because I got my speakers on, but let's play the trailer.
It doesn't have any sound, or can other people hear it?
Yeah, I can't hear the sound either. The visuals are pretty.
It's usually Sam that does this, so hold on, give me a second. I think I need to, oh, here we go, stop screen. Let's try this again, guys. So Sam's been very, very busy. That's why she's not here today. She's been, here we go, share system audio is what I missed. She's been taking a break. Oh, and of course it shows my whole screen because I'm a noob. All right, here we go. Let's try this again.
Cosplay is a social art form. It's for people. It connects people. Cosplay is transformation.
Cosplay is the art of dressing up as a character that you love.
That is accompanied by an internal or psychological transformation that could include aspects of personality, power, gender, sexuality.
I started getting into cosplay and I started dressing up as male characters, and I was like, oh, this is so much more comfortable for me.
In the beginning, I was always very surprised to see fans dressed up as comic book characters, very often characters I was involved with. Now, this dress-up business has become such a big thing at comic book conventions, and comic book conventions have become such big things.
I mean, cosplay is so popular now that there are these huge international competitions, the largest being the World Cosplay Summit, which is essentially like the Olympics of cosplay.
Italy this year spent 4 years, a lot of money as well.
Everybody is really nervous. There's a lot of stress.
With Team Mexico, they're the kind of team that sticks in your head.
We like to be really passionate, and I think when you like something, you give everything for it.
Some of the most exciting experiences of my life have all happened because I was in a costume.
This year's world champion is...
I think it's really refreshing, and I feel like everybody who's watched this has the same opinion. It feels real, which is great because there's been so many other medias that cover cosplay that feel so fake, and the world sees that fake image of us, and it's very like disheartening. I remember like when the oh god, what was that awful show called? A long time ago when that one cosplay competition show came out, it was so very hard to watch because of how fake it felt. And as a cosplayer who's been part of all of those things, it was so like disheartening to know that this is what the world gets to see about us. But this, so far, I'm being transparent, I haven't finished it yet. It feels so real, and seeing these cosplayers talk about their passion and what it means to us on not only a crafting level but an emotional level is so far like it's really spoke to me as like, yeah, this is what it is to cosplay. It's such a great way to show it.
And I feel like it was kind of it's a natural progression for fans, right? Because even for like we call normies, they have a fandom that they love so much that they want to dress up as them for Halloween, right? Like it's just I feel like it's a natural progression to like just want to be the character. Like it's so normal. So I got a couple of comments here I want to go before we go too far. Raul, thank you for joining us. Says that's amazing. Sakura Elric, whoa, World Cosplay Summit. Like I'm not a competitive person, but I would love to compete in World Cosplay Summit. And Stephanie Rennert is watching. Sounds like someone you know. Okay, so go ahead. You had something to say, Jordan?
Oh yeah, that is my sister, who's totally been awesome and helping me with just helping get the word out and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, she's thrown in a link tree there, so that looks like it's going to take you to a bunch of different places, guys. If you need resources or want to see where you can watch it, please take a look at that link. So Jordan, what is your experience, your personal experience with cosplay?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna complete the story that I went a little confused because it answers that question, and it answers something that Chibi said, which is that it's also really like how I got involved with cosplay was back to we're on the film set with Lauren and her awesome cosplay friends for our X-Men project, and then we got taken aside, or just hanging out on the set. Lauren explained to us that the show Heroes of Cosplay had just come out, and she was on it as a judge, and all of her friends were on it because she's very like tapped into that like SoCal cosplay scene that a lot of it was filmed. And this is actually like our film directly came out of her saying that the cosplay community was frustrated with this film. I'm sorry, with the series, because she was like, everybody, on one hand, it's good because it is signal boosting that this community exists and it's here for people. But on the other hand, they just felt like the reality show format was unfair to really explain what cosplay really was, because to her it was just like there was no competition. It's just making incredible art projects, collaborating with friends, and having fun. So it was actually that is where the film idea came from, because my friend Patrick and I, we had made all these different films in the world of comics and fandom that we were like, this sounds like an interesting challenge. After making that, maybe we should make a documentary about like where the heck cosplay came from, because we ourselves had no idea. And we just saw like Lauren and her friend group as these incredible like artisans. And I knew that there's this weird, at that time especially, there's just kind of like a lot of people who aren't in the culture would just consider right off the whole everybody as just, oh, Trekkies, or like the modern version of Trekkies. But just seeing how incredibly talented their construction was, I was just like, these people are like master craftspeople. So the film itself really did come out of a reaction of what if we did the complete opposite of Heroes of Cosplay, because it just came from that conversation. And Lauren agreed to like, all right, I'll be an associate producer. I'll help you guys make this thing happen. So we did a Kickstarter, because a lot of our projects we were funded through Kickstarter. And I can find that video at some point or link to it. There's our Kickstarter in like 2015 is called like, help us make this movie, Cos Planet, the evolution of cosplay. And our Kickstarter failed. miserably. And then we tried again on Indiegogo and we still failed. We just like, I don't know, we didn't have the ingredients, I guess, yet. But then our co-producer, Jonathan McHugh, who became the co-director, he also was like, this is a cool idea. He's the one who helped us get distribution for She Makes Comics and the Image Revolution. And then ultimately what happened was I was co-directing the film with my partner, Patrick, but he got a opportunity to shoot a feature film that kind of took his resources there. So Jonathan and myself decided to try to do this film in like basically a year and a half. But while making it, we just got so into it, and like became so obsessive with finding the right story and really reflecting the community that it took us 6 years.
I mean, it shows though, because like you did this, because I'm about halfway through it, and like the Cosplay Summit stuff that you have is incredible because it reflects how bad the other series was, because it shows the Cosplay Summit and how passionate we are and like what it really feels like to be in a competition. And I think like that's so cool, is being able to see that. Like, how did you even get the opportunity to like film with the Cosplay Summit? Because you filmed with like Team Mexico and so many of the others. Like, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. The answer is, it goes back to Yoshiki. Yoshiki, who really believed in, he was like, Yoshiki, you know, I think he must spend 85% of his time in Japan. But he's also here doing concerts and this and that. So Yoshiki, who thought the idea was cool, he's the one who gave us, helped get the project off the ground with some resources. And he was like, well, if you're going to make a cosplay movie, of course you're going to the World Cosplay Summit. At which point we were like, what's that? We didn't even know about the World Cosplay Summit, but because, you know, I think he had been a guest there a bunch of times, and in Japan, everybody knows the World Cosplay Summit. It's like the definitive event of the year for cosplay. That he helped us get some resources to go over there and check it out. But one thing that I think is really cool and still makes no sense to me to this day is just like all of the, as you saw in how we covered it, like all the people that we intuitively felt that we should kind of capture do really well in the competition, which is like this really strange, it's kind of bizarre how somehow we got the right stories to help like make that happen. That in some weird way, it feels like a scripted TV show, but it was honestly all by luck and just, I don't know, I was just drawn towards certain stories and people and stuff.
I want to just jump in here about Heroes of Cosplay, because so Yaya's a friend of mine as well, and she's been on the show twice. And it's so funny because when she came to Dubai, I was living there, and my family didn't know who she was, and I was like, okay, let's watch Heroes of Cosplay. And so they watched it and they were like, yeah, we loved your show. So I mean, tons of respect for Heroes of Cosplay, that it wasn't like when she used to talk about it, she was like, they needed something, they thought viewers would not be interested in, you know, just crafting, so they needed the competition thing to kind of give it purpose, which now we know is like, okay, we see what they were trying to do. And I got to give props to the cosplayers of Heroes of Cosplay, because they were doing what they could to educate the masses on what we actually do. And unfortunately, it was edited in a different way. So I don't want to rag on Heroes of Cosplay, because I do love the show, because it's like anything cosplay I'll consume. But because I know a lot of the cosplayers in it, like I'm longtime friends with Becky as well. So because I know a lot of people in it, I know what they really are. They're not, just some competition hungry crafters.
When I rag on the show, I rag on the way it was edited.
Yeah, no, I know you do. I just wanted to
all of the cosplayers that were on the show were fantastic people. I love Yaya to death. Like, she's one of the silliest, sweetest people I've ever got to opportunity to work with. And like, it upsets me that American media is so pointed that they have to make conflict, because this movie is so good. There's no conflict. Like it just shows people that are passionate about crafting and what they love, and it tells such a good story. And so I'm just bitter that like that show got so much, like got airtime and stuff on like main TV, when it's like this movie is such a better description of what we do. And
I know that they tried, like Yaya tried and stuff, but you're right. It's like American TV needs conflict, which cosplay is all about like being who you really are. And I don't know where the conflict comes in that, you know. It's like, I mean, there is conflict, but it's like we try to not, especially here at Cost Talk Live, we're inclusive, we're educational, we're informational, we're supportive, and that's where we love to share cosplay. And I think overall that's what cosplay is, because people will dress up, see each other in costume. I mean, like Yaya had a fangirl moment with, you know, Chibi.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
We
like
screamed for a little bit.
yeah,
yeah,
so,
and like, but that's exactly it. And like for me, I guess what was really bittersweet was, as a competitor, seeing like how toxic they made the competition world feel. It really hurt my feelings, because I knew a lot of young cosplayers watched that and didn't know better, because honestly, some of my best friends come from the competition scene. I absolutely adore the people that I meet behind the scenes, and I love getting feedback on my costumes and learning more about the growth, because for me, competition is growth. It's about, okay, these judges saw these flaws in this costume, it's something I can do better next time. And I feel like they just never showed that at all. It was just, here's the you did this wrong, that's it. And it's like, no, there's so much more feedback, and there's so much more friendship. And usually when you're backstage crying, you're crying all together, because you're all trying to put yourself together. So like, it just, for me, it was just such a bitter feeling, because I'm like, oh, it makes me sad that so many people are going to think that's what these competitions are like, when they're more like what we see in Cosplay Universe, where it's a lot of people collaborating together, and when we all cry together, because we're all falling apart. So it's so refreshing to me, and I really hope that like cosplayers get to see this and see this is what it's more like, because in my opinion, it is.
There was this one scene in and I know we're not talking about Heroes of Cosplay, but where there was this group that kind of like badmouthed the outsiders, the people on the show, because they went to that state. And like I later heard, it was really they were mad at the whole show, like invading. But you know, the show created it as if they were mad at these specific people, which whatever, you know, but it just, there was, I don't think there was a reason to like focus on that, because that usually doesn't happen in competitions. Usually you find a fellow competitor to like team up with.
Yeah.
Like that's usually.
One thing that's interesting is while making the movie, we had a whole section about Heroes of Cosplay, because we were trying to, you know, the mission of the film is really to show the growth of cosplay, and that was an important growth moment. So we had this whole section where I think it started with Yaya being like, I think I had an ulcer the day that Heroes of Cosplay came out, and she was just explaining that like them and the whole cosplay group basically pushed back on they pushed back on the producers who were trying to make it one thing, and like the cosplayers basically band together to try to be like, no, this isn't what cosplay is. So it sounded like it was a very stressful time for all of them, and that they were given this opportunity to get like a platform and show people, but at the same time there was a lot of like, yeah, you know, I'm the first project I ever worked on was the TV show Pawn Stars.
Wow.
Show in Las Vegas, where I was just an assistant editor, and I got a lot of wacky windows into just like what it is to construct a reality TV show. And it is stressful. It's like hot, it's quick turnaround, and they don't have so much time to think about intentionally like what they're up to. They just need to like hit these deadlines to get the story going, which is kind of I wouldn't really recommend anyone make Cosplay Universe again, because it was just like this was definitely the most challenging project ever, because of for me, just how long it took, and we really did have a commitment to try to reflect what the community is all about, to like make a postcard or a calling card for everyone of like, here is this incredible art community. It's here for you to join if you want it. It's here for you to like find yourself if this is what calls to you. And that mission really did take forever to just keep like holding out for all of our stories that we're following to have some type of decisive ending. Because, you know, a good story has like a first, a second, and third act. And I think that's the thing that's really cool about this project, that it's like a 6-year project, is we basically held out that every one of the people we profiled had some type of like conclusive ending, which I think is one of the reasons the film works. But you can't do that on a reality TV timeline, or it's just one of those long projects. that I.
But I think I honestly think you did so good because you covered so many different kinds of cosplayers, so many because like yeah, you do a little of the cosplay summit, which is the competitor side, but you also covered the people that are just there for crafting, or the people that are there accidentally because they just happen to sew things, and then people like their sewing, and then they get absorbed into this like wonderful world of cosplay because people loved their passion, and it was so great to see so many sides get represented because I feel like you just really covered all the different kinds of cosplayers because cosplay isn't just one thing, and a lot of people see it as that one thing. So I
a
think
couple comments
you've done good.
here. Steve says, I love to work on other ideas for the spin-off of the heroes of the universe, no matter whether it's DC, Marvel, and so on. In my mind, there's no competition. It's all about having fun and enjoying what each person does with what they did, even if it was little or big.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where it is like you can, I mean, people used to wear, their fandom on their shirts, but then when they're like, you're wearing it, like I'm wearing the school uniform, they're like, plus ultra, it's like an immediate connection because you know that person is a huge enough fans of wear it. So that I think is like one of the magic of cosplay, and where cosplay becomes something for literally everybody. I did have a thought and I can't even remember what it is anymore, but were you finished with your story, Jordan? Do we need to keep going?
Oh, the long-winded story. Okay, yeah, we'll get to the bottom. So it was two things. It was Lauren explaining that the cosplay community felt like it had like a bit of a PR dilemma in that Heroes of Cosplay came out, but it didn't really reflect what they're all about. So that was one of the main catalysts. And then the other portion, which is a good segue into one of the clips, the clip called Wendy Peony, if you want to cue that one up, is that was 2013 that we had this conversation with Lauren, I think the end of 2013. And we were already working on this project called She Makes Comics about the history of women in the comic book industry. And that was really all comic book centric. But one of the comic book artists that we profiled was this woman named Wendy Peony. And was like this huge independent comic book creator. She made this series called ElfQuest, which is really popular.
Sam's favorite. And unfortunately, Sam's not well today.
Yeah.
He was like, what? So Sam would be here chatting your ear off because she loves Wendy Peony. But go ahead, please.
But yeah, so Wendy Peony created ElfQuest. And while she was just a comic book creator, she would go to comic conventions. And she was in that generation that was there for the first San Diego Comic-Con, and something that just sprouted up naturally at Comic-Con was the Red Sonja yearly masquerade, where different people would dress up in cosplays of Red Sonja, because it was organized by the main writer, I think, or maybe the creator, I forget, of Red Sonja. And she just told us this incredible story of how she would dress as Red Sonja, and it was like really empowering and incredible, and it was just a great vibe back then. And that really just got our brains going of like, whoa, this story. And she also filled us in how like in the 70s, it was like a very spicy clothing optional time with costumes because no one's there with digital cameras. And I guess, it was the hippie era. So like people would come nude, a lot of costumes where, yeah, you didn't necessarily have to be fully clothed at all.
What's so funny is doing my research for the Cosplay 101, I found that information about rules, that like new rules that were installed, and I wasn't like, I'm like, okay, well that makes sense, like no nudity. But after seeing it in the movie, I was like, oh, of course. So like that, like retconned it for me. I was like, oh right, because it was the 70s. I was like, why do they need a rule about a costume? Like nudity is not a costume.
Oh wow, I didn't know that there was that actual rule. Oh, that's really funny.
Well, I don't know where that rule was made. It was like I think it actually was in the UK that I think it was
part of a competition. Like when competition started getting a little bit more support, like they had to make a clause of like no nudity.
Yeah, like the nudity is not like just being nude is not a costume or something like that. Whoa.
Well, actually, I think I'm fascinated, of course, by like culture and youth culture, and this is youth culture and just adult culture. But we recently did a watch party on Twitter where Yaya Han was there helping, and we did an Instagram live afterwards. And Yaya was like, I haven't watched the movie in a while, but something that struck me this time, which I think is very interesting and related to this, was in the 70s, like cosplay and nudity were one. And then now with like OnlyFans and people's, you know, like it's starting to be strangely accepted in a way, even
It's coming
after.
back around.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was just pretty interesting because that's, what is that? It's like a 50-year cycle we've now hit. And people are always talking about with culture, everything comes back around. And it's like, yeah, I guess
just
that
a quick
kind of it has like come back around in some ways.
Yeah, just a quick comment on that, because there was a moment where they talked about, oh, she's wearing a bikini, she wants attention. So I started in 2001. So the early 2000s and like middle 2000s, it was super taboo to be a sexy cosplayer, of course, because we know that Jessica Negri popularized it, I think like 2009-ish, I think, when she did her sexy Pikachu. And that, you know, started to become, even then it was like I'd say like in the last 2 or 3 years, it's been more accepted to do more lewds and more spicy stuff. I always think like, man, I wanted to do this, like, because I did modeling on the side. So I did like lingerie modeling and swimsuit modeling. So it wasn't unnatural for me to want to do a sexy cosplay. But because it was so looked down upon, I didn't dare. And even if I did, it wasn't that sexy, which I think also ties into the whole thing about women's rights in general and how women should just be able to wear what they want and not be judged type of thing. Like the whole, you know, look what she was wearing, you know, kind of culture. And now that we're in the, you know, 2020s, we're finally starting to let people do what they want to do, which is why that whole thing about cosplay and sexy cosplay was looked down upon, because, you know, this whole thing about being slutty or I don't know what I can say on YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. You know, like promiscuous looking. At least this is live, so they'll just like edit it later. But before we go on further, I do have the clip queued. Would you like me to share it now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this clip is, it's a very small snippet about Wendy Pini and just how it kind of just shows that this is one aspect that we cover in the film. Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Wendy Pini is the godmother of cosplay. She is maybe not the first cosplayer, but she's certainly the root of the tree.
I was 16 years old when I went to my first BayCon, and I experienced the wonderful sight of seeing other people dressed up in costumes that they had made.
My most used tool is my battery-powered.
Oh yeah, that's all. Yeah, just a little taste that kind of like explains the vibe of the film. We tried to keep like the history and everything, like everything's always moving in the movie. That's one thing that I look back and I'm like, this is really cool. There's just a lot of like energy. It never really gets boring because, you know, a documentary can sort of fall into.
No, and I think that's so cool. And honestly, I love the fact that you do. I'm a history major, so I'm always like a little bit of a geek when it comes to that. But I feel like I always start my Cosplay 101 panel with that, like about Ackerman and about like where our roots are, because I feel like there's so many people that have no idea where this came from. And so like it was funny because I was watching it and I think me and Jinx had the same reaction of like, you open it with, this is where the word cosplay was coined from. And both me and Jinx have a Cosplay 101 panel where that's how we open our panel, is this word was coined from. And so it makes me happy to see that like other people think of that as like, here, let's introduce cosplay through this like one media that everyone uses.
I think what is really cool and makes sense that we all end up saying that word is that, and like as a documentary filmmaker and cinematographer, you're always looking for like the emblematic thing that that is almost a metaphor. It represents the larger thing. And I think the fact that cosplay is this word that came from a Japanese journalist who's in America reporting on costuming, and then takes an American word and turns it into like this combination word, in a weird way is representative of like what cosplay is, in that cosplay really is this strange, it's like the fusion of Japanese culture and American culture like colliding into this costume explosion. So it's like the act of the word itself and how it was created, you know, basically represents the movement, you know?
A couple of comments here. Stephanie has shared some links in the chat, guys. So if you want to catch Cosplay Universe on Instagram, Facebook, you can check it there. Steve says it was due to young eyes that was attending. That is where it comes from about the nudity, which is fair enough. Like, you know, we understand that that's kind of where 70s, 80s, people started to realize like, oh, oops, the kids are being affected by this because now those kids are like growing up. Anthony says, hi, Anthony. Thank you for watching. Hello, everyone. I saw Yaya Han at KatsuCon. I'm trying to get her back here in Arizona. We'll see what happens. And Stephanie also shared a link on Twitch, a replay of the Twitter watch party with Yaya. So definitely some things to check out, guys. Like when I was watching the movie, I saw the clip about the World Cosplay Summit and the cosplayers that met the politicians. I was like, wow, how cool.
Oh, yeah.
I
thought that
think-
part was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's so interesting because, like, I like how you described it as like sports people meet the president in the United States, but like cosplayers, like cosplay is a much bigger thing in Japan than I think we give it credit for. And so like it's so cool that you were able to film that because I don't think people realize that is something that happens in Japan. And,
well, and like, the respect for crafting and creating, like, you know, they do it for fashion shows, right? Fashion, because obviously that's a form of like creative you know, sewists and stuff, and cosplay is like that times 8 billion. Yeah, we're still like just hidden under the basement, you know, like, oh, that weirdo. However, we do all sorts of stuff. And that's really cool that they recognize them as artisans, because that truly is. And I think somebody said it in the very beginning, it's a social art form, which I think is a really great way to like kind of coin it in like one phrase. Because when I try to explain it to people, it's like, well, making it is one thing, wearing it is another, interacting with people is another. Like it all encompasses, and people take what they like from it. Some people don't like interacting, and that's like, that was great during the pandemic because then TikTok and a lot of other stuff like exploded because people were just cosplaying at home. So there's almost, and that's still social because you're putting it on social media. So the fact that like if you like stamp collecting, something you can do on your own, no one really needs to know about, you know, doll collect. I collect dolls, obviously, but cosplaying, like you want people to like see it, you know. That's one of the things about cosplay. And I really loved the way that the film, it was just, you know, when you're watching something and you just smile, like I was smiling through this whole film because all the sentiments I just really, you know, resonated with. Of course, I knew a lot of the people in there that I've known for years. Like Chrissy, I know her from a long time ago as well, cosplaying. Rachel's a really good friend of mine that I've known way back when. And she even faced a lot of issues because she's always been, you know, on the sexier side, which is great. Like, you know, be you, but she got a lot of flack for it all the time in the 2000s. So it was nice to see a lot of people that, oh, I missed a lot of comments here. Cosplay Choco is watching us from YouTube. I'm glad people also see OnlyFans and not safe for work cosplayers can be crafters too. Yes, because it's like a performance art, you know. Nighty Neko's watching us on YouTube. Hi. Oh, whoa. Cosplay Choco says, if I didn't have the social part, I wouldn't have cosplayers. It helps me start conversations, which is very important because in general, we know that geeks and nerds are a little bit more on the quiet side. We can say that. So it's a great icebreaker to be like, oh my God, you know, who's your favorite My Hero character or whatever.
I think you tackle that really well in the movie too, because you actually, I was really shocked to see some of the mental health and like the gender review, like inspiration. I wasn't expecting to see those in the field, like within the film, because like, yes, we know that cosplay helps us introverts communicate with each other, which is lovely because now we have this icebreaker. But like the way you talk about it and allow people to talk about it, I feel like I really related to some of the people talking because I too have had a gender journey through cosplay. I like cosplaying male characters. I feel more comfortable with it. I just was definitely not expecting to see it in the film. Was that something that happened organically? Or was that something where you're like, I see like you've done a lot of comic book stuff, so you kind of already know how important to introverts this like side of socialness, like conventions and social media has given us. Was that something you really wanted to put in the film and were like seeking out, or was that something that you talked to people and it organically became part of the film?
Oh yeah, great question. I really enjoyed talking about it too, because everything, especially that, totally organic. We basically, probably one of the hardest parts was like, how do you try to structure this to tell this story to begin with? And at one point, we made up some rule that was like, we should try to tell stories of a one like crafter who's focuses on armor, one who focuses on fabrics, and then I forget what else. But we were trying to like show the different types of costumes. So at one point the person that we had to represent like foam armor building was pretty cool. But then we saw like Tom's Hulkbuster costume from just a viral video online, and my co-director and I, we were just floored. We were just like, how is that even possible? That thing is moving. I don't know if you guys remember this, but that costume went pretty viral in like 2015 because it is really like this 20-year engineering feat that finally came into existence. Like the way that he developed this like the lifelike way that thing moves was like this 20-year journey Tom went on to like try and create this whole inner exoskeleton to get the thing to move. So we were just like, the story that we're currently telling about armor building, like it pales in comparison to this. So we went to Rhode Island, like kind of like really pleaded, like we really want to tell you that story. And then we just walked in and I met Key that first day, and Key, it was revealed that like the real details of why that costume looked so incredible was like Key's artisanship. And then myself and Key just had when you sometimes meet people that it's just like, you don't know why you get along effortlessly, but you just do.
Mm-hmm.
He and I just like had that, we were just like joking immediately, and just, there was just this kind of like, just vibe, and really it was just like, all right, well, we got to explain this Hulkbuster costume because it's like such an epic creation that really represents what you can do if you go all in on a costume. And then just curiosity and hanging out with Key explained what they were up to and how cosplay was this way of just the gender journey. I've never heard that term. That's perfect. And then I was like, whoa, this is really another really important aspect of what cosplay is here for people for. So it was totally organic. It really came from like, we just saw that incredible costume. We're like, we must go deeper. And then we had no clue.
Because Reinhardt is like,
yeah. And then,
that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that, because like that particular part really, really spoke to me. And like, it wasn't until just a couple years ago that I really like had made that connection that cosplay helped me discover these feelings. And so like seeing that other people are going through that and have used cosplay as their form of their gender journey, it's like, oh man, like that really hit home for me. And so I love it. This movie's been so fun.
It was actually especially when Yaya was talking about how she never felt beautiful, because I also I'm technically not a first-generation immigrant because I was born in the Philippines, but I've been raised in Arizona my whole life. And, even going into my late 30s, I'm still, dealing with the whole identity crisis thing. And when she was talking about, like, I never felt beautiful until I was in cosplay, it struck me because I've grown up in Phoenix. So, there's a big Filipino community here, but I didn't grow up around it. But I never felt beautiful, and I never cosplayed male characters. And if I did, I would do it like a gender bend, but never fully do like a crossplay or anything like that, because I grew up thinking I was like a boy because I had dark hair, dark skin, I was hairy, whatever. And cosplay helped me kind of like feel more feminine, dressing up as more feminine characters. And this is something I'm just kind of working out after seeing your movie. So like the thoughts are there, but after hearing Yaya say that too, I was like, that is how I feel. Like, what people used to be like, oh, you're so pretty for an Asian girl, and I'm like, that's an underhanded, that's not very nice actually. So cosplay helped me kind of be more comfortable with who I am as well. Especially during your 20s, like your 20s is hard. right? Like 20s is difficult. And people going through it, whatever outlet you can find to find your true self is helpful. And cosplay is that for a lot of people. And, I really hate when people get insulted by it. And oh my gosh, we're almost up. But I wanted to talk about what Yaya mentioned about her mom, what brought me to tears. And this is common for a lot of cosplayers, is that their parents don't support them or their family does not support them. And it's such a painful situation to be in, because cosplay is not just it can be a casual hobby, but it goes deeper than that for everybody. There's multiple reasons why people cosplay, and a lot of them do come from like mental health and who they are inside. They want to bring it out. So my mom actually helped me start cosplaying. She was like my cosplay. She was the seamstress extraordinaire. And that was back in 2001. She took me to San Diego Comic-Con, and I was like, I want to do that. And she's like, okay, let's do it. And even my dad, who was a little bit like, that skirt's a little short, but what can I help with? He actually helped make too. He helped make costumes for me as well. Unfortunately, and this isn't the Jessica story, but my dad passed away in 2003. So not long after I started cosplaying, and then my mom passed away in 2012. And it hurts a lot. It's bittersweet because I definitely empathize with people that don't have supportive families. And it's wonderful when their family comes around and then they realize how important this is. For me, I was a little bit like, oh God, like, I don't know what my dad would be like today, because it's been almost 20 years since he passed away, to see, and both my parents were very creative and supportive. And, I had a moment where I was like, God, they would be so happy to see how far I've come in cosplay, but that's for another day. But for people that have, struggles with their parents, and I mean, this is a great movie to share to them, because it shows the love and the dedication behind the craft, not just the I'm getting in costume, because I did buy this. I just bought this and threw it on. So, in its most simplest form, yeah, it is playing dress up. But then of course it's different for everybody.
I think the movie really reflects a lot of backgrounds and a lot of different types of people, and I think that's where it's so like, I'm probably gonna cry at the end of this. Like, I just already know it's coming, because honestly, it just means so much to me. And it was like reading Yaya's book, because when I read Yaya's book, it was so. I connected to it on so many levels, because it was kind of like seeing somebody else who has had a similar journey as I have, and knowing that they exist out there, and like bringing it all together. And like, I feel like this movie's doing really good at showing that. And so like, I want to say thank you for all your hard work. 6 years is no walk in the park, but like, I feel like what you did and all the energy you put into it really actually shows how good the movie turned out.
I feel like 6 years is appropriate. Like, you keep saying like it took a long time, but it's like cosplay is not a short-term craft. Especially when you're following like the World Cosplay Summit, they have to go through all of these. First, you got to find your person, right? Because that's true. The USA team said, like, you got to be able to like deal with this person through all sorts of things, because cosplay encompasses all sorts of things, and then of course follow them on that journey. A couple comments here. Oh, Steve says, some influence on doll collecting can give you inspirations as well. Like, I need to stop collecting dolls because I want to cosplay them all. Anthony says, I was thinking about gender bending as Vampire Hunter Brigitte in Overwatch. You totally should. That is such an amazing skin. I think that's the one that Kamui does, I think. I think that's the one she does. She does an amazing job. And Kamui is amazing. We could have a whole show on Kamui. I love her too. Steve says, depending on the generations, on how they look at it, not all of them are going to get what some people are into. It's just how it goes. That's correct. I mean, it's always going to be just something people never understand. I never understand how people get so crazy in sports. So that's my thing. Anthony says, I love cosplay because I live my life to cartoons, even though I'm in my mid to late 30s, and that's fine, because cartoons are amazing. They should never just be for kids, because you can do anything with animation.
Most of them are not for kids. If you go back and rewatch Disney movies, you're like, oh, that wasn't.
Yeah, like that's a really adult theme there. Steve says, I'm 50 and still enjoy cosplaying, so it's all good. And you should. And someone once asked me, am I going to be cosplaying into my 40s? And I'm like, I'm about a year away from 40, so yes. And then I did want to share this cosplay repair guide. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we could quickly. Well, this is just one thing that I just want to say thanks for that comment that you made, Jinx, about 6 years is appropriate, because you're right. As time goes on, I would like to reframe in my brain that, like, you know what, this is how long we should have spent to really tell this story. Because while making it, I just got a lot of feedback along the way that people who really care about me and are worried about me, family, friends, they're just like, you're still working on that project? Because it really was like this huge weight on my shoulders, feeling like we're trying to tell a story that reflects a whole community as best as we can. But it just feels, I appreciate that you're like, you know what, that's how long it would take, is a good reframing in my own brain, because I'm so used to telling people like, yes, it took 7 years, as if it's a problem. But like, you know, that definitely part of the power of the film is that you watch people go through a change over time. So I appreciate that.
And you know, with Heroes of Cosplay, they wanted it like we talked about then and now, like right now. So what can we do right now? We can do a competition, you know, and it doesn't even tell them how they started, why this, you know, costume piece is important to them, or I mean it does, but not in the way that you guys represented it. And I think, I mean, as a cosplayer for, you know, over 20 years, yeah, there's stuff that I still have that I still have on the table that I'm trying to finish, because we're also human and we have jobs and families and other things that go on. And yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, I wish we could go longer, and we technically can, but we won't. So I wanted to mention this. We talked about this clip off screen, but didn't quite make it into the movie. And why I think it's so important is because cosplaying is such a difficult hobby that very few people do it all by themselves. Very, very few people. You might ask for help in the making and the learning, like Kamui, who came out with all her books. That's something that we definitely is one of our values, is sharing information. So we definitely love to help people learn how to do new techniques and stuff. And then of course there's the whole aspect of wearing your costume, which when it's pre-made, you know that it's going to be fine, right? But when you make it yourself, unless you are a professional seamstress, a lot of times it can fall apart or something does not quite translate, especially because character designers think that, you know, that characters just wear whatever and space happen.
Does it work in physical? Like, I am wear number 3 for D-Lit and I'm still struggling with my armor. Like, cosplay is a lot of, here's these mistakes we make and we have to learn from them.
Absolutely. But when you're on the floor, and it can be super, super anxiety inducing. And I know, like, Chibi, I know you were feeling that when you were wearing D-Lit. And I know that I felt that even wearing Pure Test, because I was showing a lot of stuff. And if I did one wrong move, it would, you know, show everybody. So there's people that love cosplay, but don't necessarily want the attention of dressing up, or maybe they don't have the time, skill, energy, money, whatever, to make their own costumes. So a lot more people are coming out as supporters. We even have people that want to come and support the show but don't want to be on the show, which is like, of course, because it takes a team, right? A film isn't just made by you, it's made by 50 other people. So we love these people they call themselves cosplay medics. And we actually had a cosplay repair station at UwuCon this past October, where we had lots of stuff people could come by and just do quick repairs, because to have to think about, oh, my sword's broken, I got to carry it in 2 pieces, is anxiety inducing when you're in a crowd of like 10,000 people. So a lot of people will go around and carry stuff. Lena, who is Thermo Cosplay Sidekick, is our resident cosplay repair, and she has everything all the time. So there's a clip of Cosplay Repair Guy if you want to go in more in depth on that clip, Jordan.
Oh yeah, well, we tried to keep this clip in the film because it's so cool. And I think what's really cool of, like, if you're making a film about a community, and like a healthy community would have like a doctor, it just seems like normal what would happen with the evolution of a community. So the fact that there are cosplay medics is this cool sign of how far cosplay as a community has come. We try to include in the film, but just like the nature of a film is, everything is about, you're a slave to the flow of the movie. And since this scene is really like a one-off scene, there was nowhere to properly insert it to keep the flow of the film. So it became a deleted scene that I threw up on TikTok and one day, and it got 2 million views, which was just, I think, really funny to show that like the scene that we couldn't get into the movie itself ends up getting 2 million views, our most like viewed clip, mostly because this guy is just a badass. Like
the unsung hero of
Yeah.
hall cosplay. We call it a hall cosplay if you're just walking around the hall, but yeah, the unsung hero. Are we ready?
Yep.
Watch the clip.
Oh, the sound again.
No sound.
Hopefully there is sound. I hope so.
So I'm new to having 2 screens. So every time I share my screen, it like shows my desktop. So let's try this again. I swear, guys, we will get this correct. So now I got to share my screen because that's where my audio is, and watch, it's going to pop up with my desktop.
Sorry, we're going over, guys. If you have to leave, we understand. It's been an hour, but we're going to hang out a little longer.
My most used tool is my battery-powered hot glue gun. Heats up in about 15 seconds, cools down right away, so I can put it back in, not burn myself. This is my battery pack for my phone and for my hot glue gun. Normal first aid kit, just Band-Aids, stuff like that. Hair ties, long zip ties. Got this thing called a Speedy Stitcher. It's basically a leather awl. It's for fixing thick fabrics. I use it a lot. I do it because I get to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't necessarily meet. Okay.
I have an issue today.
Wandering around a convention in costume is a lot of fun, but you don't necessarily get to stand and talk to people as much as you would when you get to fix their costumes. I'm an engineer by trade, and I really just enjoy the challenge of solving problems with the materials that I have. Well, my hot glue gun seems to not be working at the moment. This is just a hot glue stick, but I'm just using a lighter to heat it up. I had to sneak this past security, though. That should be good. Just don't touch it for a few minutes and it should stay on.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Regardless of the convention I go to, even if I'm the only person with a big sign that says cosplay repair, there's somebody going around helping in some way, shape, or form. Cosplayers kind of get each other, and I really like that.
Cosplay is a...
Yeah.
Was that okay? Did that work out? Okay. I need to turn off my autoplay. But yeah, as you said, like that's a great way to speak to people and meet people that you never would. So it's, you know, everyone has their own way. And an engineer, like, of course, he could probably make his own cosplays, but why he doesn't have time or whatever is, you know, up to him. And he still is able to contribute to the community. A couple more comments. Steve says, I'll be 90 and in a wheelchair and still cosplaying. And that's when you get to cosplay as Professor X, right? Woo! Anthony, I also want to congratulate Jordan on making this movie. So congratulations to you and your team. Steve says that guy's awesome. He was a great help at New York Comic-Con. And Sakura also says that dude is amazing. So yeah, I don't know if we got to cover all the topics that you wanted to, Jordan. I mean, there was so much to talk about. We might have do like a follow-up after everyone's watched the movie. Go watch the movie. But what else do you want to mention, Jordan?
Well, yeah, just shout out to my co-director, Jonathan McHugh, as well as our whole team. And yeah, please follow us on Instagram. That's probably where we're most active. We're on TikTok and Twitter as well, but Instagram is Cosplay Universe Movie. And then please, if we really do live for people to watch the movie and then tag us with your thoughts. We'll share whatever you have to say on Instagram or any of the places. It's on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Vudu, Xbox, Google Play. So if you just search for it on YouTube, you have the option of renting the film. Yeah, we spent so much time making this movie. We're really proud of it. We just want to know what people think. So please check it out. It would be really awesome. And thanks for having me. This was incredible. This was so much fun just chatting.
Yeah,
you're right.
absolutely.
We talked for 10 hours, but
yeah, right. I was like, we can keep going, but maybe we'll have to do a follow-up. I did want to mention one moment that I absolutely loved in the very beginning when gosh, I don't know what he's cosplaying as, but the guy that does World Cosplay Summit, he's in that big mech. Is that a Gundam? I think,
oh yeah, that's from Evangelion, I believe.
It's like, an Evangelion. It's an Eva. Okay, so there's a little boy, right, that takes a picture with him. And then you guys caught this thing where he takes off his mask and the kid is like like, oh my God, that's a person. That's so cool. And the moment between the two of them, those are moments that I always remember that I have. It's like, of course, the child is amazed to see something, and then to see that a human made it, that means that he's like, maybe I could do that one day. And that's where you see it in their eyes of like, I want to inspire young people that yes, you can. It might take 20 years, but you'll do it if you want to. Because vacuum form plastic, that's the next thing I want to do. And that's been my thing for like 20 years. But that moment I think is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that moment. That moment in a weird, it's like I was talking earlier about emblematic moments that are sort of metaphors for the whole thing. I always look at that and I think like it's like our inner child looking back at us kind of is like what you have in that shot, which is really cool.
Right, because we're that geek generation from the 80s. We're adults now, yay! And we have adult money and we can buy adult, and I can cover my room in dolls because it's my salary. And and that child that's like, Frankie Stein, who sees me as Frankie, and I'm like, yep, that was me. That was me. I'm looking at me.
But it's also like this crazy exchange of like, truthfully, as we're adults, all we really want to be is our true inner child again in a lot of ways. And like, yeah, that one shot where they're both looking at each other, it's kind of like, that's what it's all about.
That's probably my favorite shot of the whole movie. I love it. It's so gorgeous, and it just encompasses so much about what cosplay is in like that couple seconds of like this child is like, wow. And then of course the cosplayer like getting that reaction, and that's why we do it is like, yeah, we do it for ourselves, but we do it for ourselves and that small child inside of us. So guys, I threw the link to the Instagram on the screen. You can see, as well as you can find the movie again and we're going to post this again, Amazon, Apple TV, as you said.
Yeah, Apple TV, Xbox, Google Play. So look it up on YouTube.
And Voodoo.
Is it VUDU?
VUDU, yeah. Right. Yeah, Google Play and YouTube are like one and the same. So if you just search for Cosplay Universe on YouTube, that'll work. Or Amazon watching you're at home. Yeah.
Awesome. And then this will be we leave these broadcasts up on Facebook and YouTube, so people will check it out later, and we hope to hear what you guys think of the movie. So if you watch it, please send us a message what you think, or you can comment on this video, but send it to us by PM. We'll get it the best way. And when we wrap this up, we wrap up where we can find everybody. So I'm just gonna have you reiterate, Jordan, where we can find you and your movie.
Yep, on Instagram, we're Cosplay Universe Movie. On TikTok, we're Cosplay Universe Movie. Twitter, we're Cosplay Film. Gotta, reduce it. And then you can follow me. I'm at Respect Jordan on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, those are the main places. But seriously, if you do watch the movie, just leave some type of either a reaction video or Instagram your thoughts. We'll tag you probably immediately, because we literally live for people to just let us know what you think of the film or thoughts and stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do my own video too, because I just have more I want to say, and this is going way over. TV.
I mean, say we'll have to have you back. Like, obviously, we're just going to have to talk more about this amazing movie. I don't think I haven't finished it yet, so I don't have a favorite scene. When I finish the movie, I will let you know what my favorite scene is. I mean, it's fine. I went into this knowing I would probably get spoilers, because I did get the chance to finish it because life happens.
Oh yeah, I'd love to come back. And truthfully, like you guys said, like the real mission of the film is to let cosplayers, one, see themselves from like an out of body experience, but also to watch it with their family or the people that they care about that don't understand what cosplay is. It's just because you get all these different vantage points from all these different people sharing their internal experience. When the movie's over, you kind of can't help but have this moment like you're having, Jinx, where you're just like, what the heck did I just watch?
No, so exactly. Right. So like, we'll definitely have to have you back, and I promise I'll shout out at you when I finish the movie and let you know my feelings and my favorite scene is, because I'm enjoying it immensely. I'm probably going to finish it today or tomorrow. Like, I'm going to just end this and like want to join in. But you can find me on Chibi Raincloud on everything. I got lucky and got my social media, so TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff.
And you guys can find me, and my website is Jinx Cosplay. I'm putting the Discord in here because I keep forgetting the Discord.
Please join our Discord. Talk about cosplay. Join us.
Join our Discord. Oh, we can make a whole channel about talking about this so people don't get spoilers. Let's do that. Chibi, can you put that together?
I can probably do that today.
Cool. So guys, come on our Discord and talk about the movie once you see it. It will be
We also have a post-show chat. So like if you guys, anybody in the Discord who does want to discuss this movie as of right now, because I won't be able to immediately make a room, go into the post-show chat, and that will be our spoiler room for now to discuss the Cosplay Universe movie.
Yeah, and so I am the Jinx Cosplay on socials. Guys, you can find us at costalk-live.com. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and Instagram, Costalk Live. Find us every Sunday at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is now 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Pacific Standard.
Sorry, guys. We're based in Arizona. So, again, thank you so much, Jordan, for taking your time to talk to us about this amazing movie that did not take long to make. It took just the right amount of time. It was a very appropriate time because we all know cosplay takes a long time. I know cosplayers are like, yeah, that sounds about right. I was like, not surprised. Again, Chibi Raincloud, our Pacific Northwest representative, myself. We thank you guys so much for watching. Go watch the movie and don't talk to me until you do. All right.
Yes, same. No one talked to me until you do.
Yes. Bye, guys.